The ice cracked. A sound not heard by human ears for 20,000 years. Deep below Antarctica's frozen surface, something was waking up. Dr. Alan Wright pulled his thick coat tighter as the wind howled around the research station. 6 months of drilling had finally paid off. His team had detected an unusual metal object buried 2 miles beneath the ice, and today they would reach it. "Dr. Wright, you need to see this," Kate Miller's voice crackled through his radio. The young scientist had been monitoring the drill's camera feed all morning. Alan hurried across the compound, his boots crunching on the packed snow. Inside the warm control room, Kate pointed at her screen with a shaking finger. "It's not a meteorite," she whispered. The camera showed a smooth, silvery surface with odd markings that looked suspiciously like writing. Alan leaned closer. "No, it's definitely not a meteorite." Within hours, the news had spread. Military personnel from 3 countries arrived at the remote station. Equipment was flown in. The object, now partially exposed, was clearly artificial, a vessel of some kind about the size of a small submarine. "We believe it's extraterrestrial," General Harris told the assembled scientists. "The first confirmed alien artifact found on Earth." Alan wasn't so sure. The symbols etched into the hull seemed oddly familiar, though he couldn't place them. "Has anyone tried to open it?" he asked. The general frowned. "That's why you're here, Doctor. We need your expertise." 3 days later, Alan and Kate stood in a hastily constructed underground lab built around the now fully excavated vessel. Heaters kept the space warm, while scientists in protective gear examined every inch of the mysterious craft. "Look at this," Kate said, pointing to what appeared to be a door. "These markings are different from the rest." Alan studied the pattern. It wasn't writing after all, but a sequence of symbols arranged in a specific order. "It's a code," he realized. A lock. Working through the night, Alan and Kate tried various interpretations of the symbols. Nothing worked. As dawn broke over the Antarctic horizon, Alan had a crazy idea. "What if it's not alien at all?" he said. "What if it's human?" Kate looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "Human from 20,000 years ago? That's impossible." "Is it?" Alan traced the symbols with his gloved finger. "Early human civilizations used similar patterns. What if—" He arranged the symbols in the sequence of the Fibonacci numbers, a mathematical pattern found throughout nature. The door slid open with a hiss. General Harris pushed forward. "Everyone stay back. We don't know what—" A blast of cold air rushed out from the vessel. Inside, they saw a single chamber containing what looked like a coffin made of the same silvery material as the hull. The coffin was frosted over, but through the ice they could make out a human-shaped form. "It's a cryo chamber," whispered Kate. "Someone's inside." Before anyone could stop him, Alan wiped the frost from the transparent top of the container. Through the clear surface they saw the face of a man, eyes closed, skin pale but perfect, looking no older than 30. Suddenly, the chamber beeped. Lights flashed along its sides and the top began to rise. "Everyone out," shouted the general, drawing his sidearm. "Security team, prepare to—" "Wait," Alan said, holding up his hand. "Look." The man in the chamber was sitting up, his eyes opened, bright, blue and alert, showing no confusion or disorientation. He looked directly at Alan and spoke in a language none of them recognized. When no one responded, the man frowned, then spoke again, this time in perfect, unaccented English. "How long?" he asked, his voice strong despite its millennia of disuse. Alan swallowed hard. We believe approximately 20,000 years." The man nodded as if this was exactly what he'd expected. "Then they're coming back, just as we feared." He stood up in a single fluid motion that seemed too quick, too precise for a normal human. "Who's coming back?" the general demanded. "Who? Are you?" The man studied the general's uniform, the weapons, the technology around him. "My name is Victor. I was born on this planet, just as you were." He pointed upward. "They call themselves the Harvesters. They nearly wiped us out once before." "No," one spoke for several seconds. Then Alan asked, "You're human?" "Enhanced," Victor corrected. "Created to defend Earth when conventional forces failed against the invasion. My team succeeded in driving them back, but we knew they would return eventually. I volunteered to remain in stasis as a failsafe." Kate stepped forward. "There's no record of any of this in human history." Victor's expression darkened. "There should be. The war lasted decades. Every continent was affected. Millions died." He looked around at their confused faces. "Someone has erased your history." Over the next few days, as governments worldwide went into crisis mode, Victor examined modern technology, history books, and cultural records. He accessed the internet with surprising ease, absorbing information at an impossible rate. "Your civilization has developed along unusual lines," he told Alan and Kate as they showed him around the base. "Advanced in some ways, deliberately stunted in others." "What do you mean deliberately?" Kate asked. Victor pointed to a satellite phone. "You have wireless communication but no quantum entanglement, nuclear power but no fusion. It's as if something has been guiding your development, allowing certain advances while preventing others." Alan thought about the implications. "You're saying we've been manipulated? By whom?" "The harvesters never work alone," Victor explained. "They use proxy species to prepare worlds for harvest. Someone has been ensuring humanity wouldn't be ready when they returned." That night, as the Antarctic sun circled the horizon without setting, alarms blared throughout the base. Communications officers reported simultaneous blackouts across the globe. All satellites in Earth's orbit went dark for exactly 3 minutes. When systems came back online, every screen showed the same image: a massive fleet of ships approaching Neptune. Victor stared at the images without surprise. "They're earlier than I calculated. We have less time than I thought." General Harris approached, his face grim. "You knew this would happen. How do we fight them?" Victor's eyes reflected the light of the approaching fleet. "First, we wake the others. I wasn't the only one left to protect Earth." "Others?" Alan asked. "Where?" Victor smiled for the first time since his awakening. "Scattered across your solar system, hidden in plain sight. Mars, Europa, Titan, places you've explored but never truly understood." He turned to face the humans, gathered around him. "I am Earth's forgotten protector, and I have returned. Now the galaxy will tremble, not from fear of the harvesters, but from the power of humanity reborn." 1 month after Victor's awakening, the world had changed. Every nation now knew about the coming threat. Victor stood before the United Nations Security Council in New York, his tall figure commanding attention from the worried leaders. "The harvesters are not just coming to visit," Victor explained. "They are coming to take everything: your resources, your people, your planet." The room stayed quiet. Admiral Samantha Beck, newly appointed head of Earth's Defense Initiative, stood up. "Mr. Victor, you claim these harvesters attacked Earth before, but we have no record of this war." "That is because someone wanted you to forget," Victor replied. "The evidence is still here, hidden where you wouldn't think to look." The next day, Victor took Admiral Beck and a team of scientists to the Sahara Desert. The hot sun beat down as their vehicles stopped near a flat area of sand. "There's nothing here," Admiral Beck said, wiping sweat from her face. Victor knelt and placed his hand on the ground. A soft humming filled the air. The sand began to sink, revealing a metal platform beneath. "This is one of our old bases," he said, "built to last forever." They descended into the ancient facility. Lights activated automatically as they walked, through dusty corridors. Victor led them to a large room with a round table in the center. "This was our command center," he explained. "From here, we coordinated the defense of Earth." Admiral Beck ran her hand over the strange controls. "Can any of this still work?" Victor nodded. "Some systems are still active. Watch." He pressed a sequence of symbols on the table. A 3-dimensional map of the solar system appeared above them. Small red dots moved slowly toward Earth. "These are the Harvester scout ships," Victor said. The main fleet is still near Neptune, but these scouts are already entering our system. Alan Wright, who had insisted on joining the expedition, pointed to several blinking blue lights scattered across the map. What are those? Defense outposts, Victor replied, placed on moons and asteroids throughout the system. His face darkened as he studied the map. Many are offline. They should all be active. Over the next week, Victor helped Earth's military understand the threat they faced. He showed them how to detect the harvester ships and explained their weaknesses. But he grew increasingly troubled as more evidence emerged that Earth's defenses had been systematically dismantled. Someone has been preparing for their return, he told Kate Miller as they examined satellite data in a secure facility beneath Washington, D.C. Disabling our old systems, hiding our history. Kate had become one of Victor's few trusted allies. Could it be the harvesters themselves? She asked. Victor shook his head. They never work directly. They use other species, ones that look harmless, that can blend in. A young soldier rushed into the room. Sir, Admiral Beck needs you immediately. We've lost contact with our Mars outpost. In the main control room, screens showed static where the Mars base's feed should be. Admiral Beck looked up as Victor entered. It went dark 5 minutes ago. All 47 personnel. No warning. Victor's eyes narrowed. It's starting. They're removing your eyes and ears first. We have 5 ships that can reach Mars, Admiral Beck said. Should we send them? No, Victor replied firmly. That's what they want. Your ships would be destroyed before they reached Mars. We need to focus on activating the remaining defense systems. That night, similar reports came in from research stations on Europa and at the edge of the asteroid belt. Earth was being systematically blinded to the approaching threat. The next morning, strange phenomena began appearing worldwide. Mysterious lights danced in the skies. Electronic devices failed randomly. People reported hearing voices when no one was present. Psychological warfare, Victor explained to a panel of worried world leaders. They want you afraid before they arrive. In his private quarters, Victor accessed data from his ship, which had been moved to a secure facility. He had not told the humans everything. The situation was worse than they knew. The harvesters had advanced their technology since the last war, and they weren't alone. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Kate entered, carrying a tablet. I found something, she said. Old myths and legends that might be memories of the war you described. Stories of sky people who fought against devourers of worlds. They appear in dozens of ancient cultures. Victor studied the images of cave paintings and ancient texts. Yes, this is how your ancestors remembered us, as protectors from the stars, even though we were born on Earth just like them. Kate hesitated. There's something else. In some stories, the sky people had enemies among humans, traitors who helped the devourers. Victor's expression hardened. History repeats itself. We need to find those traitors before they find us. The following day, Admiral Beck called an emergency meeting. Our deep space telescopes have detected a large object moving toward Earth from beyond Pluto. It's not following any natural orbit. How big? Victor asked. Massive, the Admiral replied. Early estimates suggest it's nearly the size of our moon. Murmurs of fear spread through the room. Victor remained calm. That's their harvester ship, the one that processes whatever they take. But it's not the real threat. What is? Alan asked. The smaller ships that will come first. The ones that will prepare Earth for harvest. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. A technician shouted, Multiple objects just appeared in Earth's orbit. They weren't there a second ago. On the main screen, 7 sleek ships hovered above different points on the planet. Unlike the clumsy human satellites, these moved with purpose and precision. And so it begins, Victor said quietly. Admiral, order all aircraft to stay grounded. Any plane that approaches those ships will be destroyed. We can't just do nothing, Admiral Beck protested. I didn't say do nothing, Victor replied. I said don't fly your planes into certain death. He turned to Alan and Kate. It's time to wake up the other Guardians. starting with the one closest to us. Where? Alan asked. Victor pointed to a map of the Rocky Mountains. There, beneath what you now call Pike's Peak, my oldest friend awaits, and unlike me, he was the one who designed our weapons. As Victor spoke, the alien ships in orbit began firing beams of blue light toward Earth's surface. Wherever the light touched, plants withered and animals fell dead. They're changing Earth's ecosystem, Victor explained, making it suitable for their needs, not yours. We have less time than I thought. Admiral Beck stepped forward. What do we do? We fight, Victor said simply, and we remember who we really are. The journey to Pike's Peak took less than 2 hours in the military helicopter. Victor sat quietly, his eyes closed as if sleeping, but his mind was far from rest. Kate watched him with curiosity. What are you doing? She finally asked. Victor opened his eyes, connecting with the base below, making sure it's still active. Alan, sitting across from them, leaned forward. And is it? Yes. Victor nodded. But something is wrong. The Guardian inside is not responding correctly. The helicopter landed on a flat area halfway up the mountain. Snow covered the ground despite the summer season. Victor led the small team, Alan, Kate, Admiral Beck, and 4 soldiers, toward a rock face that looked like any other. Here, Victor said, placing his hand on the cold stone. Nothing happened. Victor frowned. He tried again, pressing harder. Still nothing. This is unexpected, he muttered. The entrance should recognize me. Could it be damaged? Admiral Beck asked. Or changed on purpose? Victor replied darkly. He stepped back and studied the rock face. We'll need to do this the hard way. One of the soldiers moved forward. Sir, we brought explosives as you requested. Victor shook his head. Too risky. We need to find the manual override. He ran his hands along the rock, feeling for something only he could detect. Here, he said finally, pressing on a small crack. A faint click sounded from within the mountain. Stand back, Victor warned. The rock face slid open, revealing a dark tunnel that led deep into the mountain. The air inside smelled stale. Their flashlights showed a metal corridor covered in dust. Victor moved confidently, leading them downward. After walking for 10 minutes, they reached a massive door made of the same silvery material as Victor's ship. This is wrong, Victor said, examining the door. Someone has changed the security protocols. Can you open it? Kate asked. Yes, but we need to be prepared. Something has happened here. Victor pressed his palm against the center of the door. It slowly slid open, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Unlike Victor's sleek ship, this place showed signs of damage. Broken equipment littered the floor. Scorch marks covered the walls. There was a fight here, Admiral Beck said, her hand moving to her sidearm. Victor moved quickly to a large cylinder in the center of the room. It looked like his own stasis chamber, but larger and partially damaged. The top was cracked open. He's gone, Victor said, his voice tight with worry. Frank should be here. Frank? Alan asked. My weapons specialist, Victor explained. The best of us at creating ways to fight the harvesters. They searched the facility, finding laboratories and storage rooms filled with strange devices. Victor examined each one carefully, occasionally taking small objects and putting them in his pockets. Most of the weapons are missing, he told them, but I can rebuild some of them with what's left. In the final room, they found the evidence Victor had feared. On a wall, written in what looked like dried blood, was a message. They came early, took the others. I escaped. Find me at the 3rd point. What does it mean? Admiral Beck asked. Victor's face was grim. It means the harvesters have been here before. They found Frank and the others. But Frank got away. He pointed to the message. The 3rd point refers to our backup location. It's on what you call Titan. Saturn's moon? Kate gasped. That's over 1 billion kilometers away. We need to go there, Victor said firmly. If Frank is alive, he has the knowledge we need to defeat the harvesters. Back at the command center, in Washington, the situation had worsened. The alien ships in orbit had deployed smaller craft that now hovered above major cities worldwide. Panic spread as people witnessed their strange, silent presence. "We need to do something now," a general demanded during the emergency meeting. "Our people are terrified." Victor stood at the map table, studying the positions of the alien craft. "Your conventional weapons won't work against their shields, but I might have a solution." Using parts salvaged from Frank's base and components from his own ship, Victor worked with Earth's engineers to modify a squadron of fighter jets. 24 hours later, the first test was ready. The energy signature should disrupt their shields. Victor explained to the pilots gathered in a hangar, "But you'll need to get close." Jack Foster, a young pilot with a reputation for taking risks, stepped forward. "How close?" "Dangerously close," Victor admitted. "Their weapons have a range of 5 miles. You need to get within 2 miles for our modifications to work." Jack nodded. "I'll do it." The mission launched at dawn. 12 modified fighters took off from bases around the world, each targeting one of the smaller alien craft. Victor watched from the command center, his face tense. "First contact in 60 seconds, an officer announced. On the main screen, they watched as Jack's fighter approached an alien craft hovering over the Pacific Ocean. The alien ship detected him and fired a beam of blue energy. Jack rolled his plane sideways, barely avoiding it. "Shields are still up," Victor said. "He needs to get closer." Jack dived directly toward the alien ship, ignoring the beams firing all around him. At exactly 2 miles, he pressed the button Victor had added to his controls. A pulse of reddish energy shot from his fighter's wings, striking the alien craft. For a moment nothing happened, then the alien ship's shields flickered and failed. "Now!" Victor shouted, even though Jack couldn't hear him. Jack fired his missiles. They struck the unprotected ship, causing it to explode in a burst of green fire. Around the world, similar scenes played out. 7 of the 12 alien ships were destroyed, but 5 of Earth's pilots didn't return. The victory was short-lived. Hours later, a new wave of larger ships entered Earth's atmosphere. These moved differently, more aggressively. "They're not here to prepare," Victor said, watching the new arrivals with growing dread. "These are warships." Admiral Beck turned to him. "How many pilots do we need for the trip to Titan?" 3, maybe 4, Victor replied. "But we don't have time. The journey takes years with your technology." "What about with yours?" she asked. Victor hesitated. "My ship can make the journey in weeks, but it was designed for a single passenger." "Could it take more?" "Perhaps 3, if we modify it." "Admiral," Beck nodded decisively. "Then that's what we'll do. You, Dr. Wright, and Jack Foster. He's our best pilot, and after today's mission, he's earned the right." As the alien warships began their assault on Earth's major cities, Victor prepared his ancient vessel for the desperate journey to Titan. Earth's forces would fight as best they could, but their real hope lay in finding Frank and the weapons that might turn the tide. "We leave in 6 hours, Victor told Alan and Jack as they gathered in the hangar. "Pack light, and be prepared. The journey will change you." "What does that mean?" Jack asked. Victor's eyes were solemn. "To survive in space for so long, my ship uses stasis technology. But it does more than preserve, it enhances. By the time we reach Titan, you won't be the same men who left Earth." Above them, the sky burned with the fire of battle, as humanity faced its greatest threat with the courage of those who fight for survival. Victor's ship rose from Earth, leaving behind a world at war. Through the small viewing port, Alan watched his home planet grow smaller. The blue oceans, white clouds, and green land were now marred by orange spots where the harvesters attacked. "Major cities. Will they survive until we return?" Alan asked quietly. Victor checked the ship's controls before answering. "Admiral Beck is smart. She'll use what we left her wisely." Jack Foster sat in the third seat studying the strange symbols on the control panel. Unlike most pilots, he showed no fear of the unknown journey ahead. "How long until we reach Titan?" 3 weeks in real time, Victor replied. "Though for us it will seem like only hours." The stasis field will activate once we clear the moon's orbit. The ship accelerated faster than any human vessel. Earth and the moon quickly became distant points of light. Ahead lay the vast darkness of space broken only by the distant sun and stars. "It's time," Victor said as a soft blue light filled the cabin. "The enhancement process will begin during stasis. Don't fight it." Before Alan could ask what that meant, his consciousness faded. His last thought was of Kate Miller, who had stayed behind to help coordinate Earth's defense. Sleep brought strange dreams. Alan saw the ancient Earth, teeming with cities far more advanced than those of the present day. He watched those cities burn as massive ships, like those now attacking his world, rained destruction from above. He saw Victor and others like him fighting back with weapons that bent reality itself. And he saw betrayal. A shadowy figure opening Earth's defenses to the enemy. Faces of trusted allies revealing themselves as something else. Something not human. Alan woke with a gasp. The cabin looked the same, but he felt different, stronger, more aware. He could sense the ship around him in ways that seemed impossible. Jack woke next, his eyes wide with shock. "What happened to us?" he asked, staring at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. Victor watched them both. The stasis field doesn't just preserve, it changes, enhances. The same process that created guardians like me thousands of years ago. Alan realized he could see better, hear more. His mind worked faster, making connections it never could before. "You've made us like you," he said. "Not fully," Victor corrected. "That takes more time, but enough to survive what's coming." A red light flashed on the control panel. Victor frowned. "We're being followed." The ship's viewing screen showed a smaller vessel trailing them. Its design matched the harvester ships attacking Earth. "They don't want us reaching Titan," Victor said. "They know what we might find there." The pursuing ship fired a beam of energy that narrowly missed them. Victor's hands moved over the controls, and their ship accelerated even faster. "Hang on," he warned, as he executed a series of maneuvers that no human ship could manage. The harvester vessel matched their moves, staying close behind. Another energy beam struck their rear shields, causing the cabin to shake violently. "Our weapons are still offline," Victor said. "We need to lose them before we reach Saturn's system." He directed their ship toward a dense asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. The harvester followed, firing continuously as they weaved between the massive space rocks. "Can they track us if we shut down the engines?" Jack asked, his enhanced mind already forming a plan. Victor nodded in understanding. "If we time it right." He spotted a larger asteroid ahead and guided their ship directly toward it. At the last possible moment, Victor cut all power. Their momentum carried them past the asteroid just as the harvester ship fired again. The beam hit the space rock, causing it to explode. Using the debris as cover, Victor let their ship drift without power. The harvester vessel slowed, scanning the area but unable to locate them among the thousands of new fragments. "It worked," Alan whispered. They waited in silence for nearly an hour before Victor risked powering up again. The harvester ship was gone, either destroyed in the explosion or continuing its search in the wrong direction. The journey continued. They passed Jupiter, its massive storms visible from millions of miles away. Beyond lay Saturn, its magnificent rings shining in the distant sunlight. "Titan is the largest moon," Victor explained as they approached the Saturn system. Frank chose it because of its thick atmosphere. The base is hidden beneath its surface lakes of liquid methane. As they neared Titan, Victor slowed the ship and activated a special scanning system. "We need to find the entrance without landing in the wrong place. The atmosphere is poisonous." The scan revealed an unusual structure beneath one of the larger lakes. Victor guided their ship down through the orange clouds that surrounded Titan. The surface appeared through the haze, a landscape of dark lakes and icy mountains. "There." Victor pointed to a spot where a subtle disturbance rippled across a lake's surface. Their ship descended into the dark liquid, which parted around them as if by magic. Beneath the lake was a domed structure much larger than the base they had found on Earth. A portal opened, allowing their ship to enter a massive hangar. Inside, other vessels similar to Victor's were docked. As their ship landed, they saw something that made even Victor pause in surprise. "Those aren't our ships," he said, pointing to several craft with unfamiliar designs. They exited cautiously. The air inside the base was breathable but carried a strange scent. The hangar appeared well-maintained, with no sign of the damage they had found at Frank's Earth base. "Something's not right," Victor said quietly. "Stay alert." They made their way through corridors that lit up as they passed. Unlike the abandoned feel of the Earth base, this place hummed with energy. It felt alive. At the center of the facility, they found a large circular room. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls, with certain star systems marked in red. In the middle stood a table similar to the one from the Sahara base. "Frank?" Victor called out. "Are you here?" A door opposite them slid open. A figure walked in. Human, in appearance but with the same enhanced presence as Victor. This man was taller, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to shift color as he moved. "Victor," the man said, his voice deep and resonant. "I've been waiting for you." Victor stepped forward but stopped short of embracing his old friend. "What happened, Frank? Your Earth base was attacked." Frank's expression remained neutral. "Many things have changed since you went into stasis, old friend. The situation is more complex than you realize." "The harvesters are attacking Earth right now," Alan said urgently. "We need your weapons." Frank studied Alan and Jack with interest. "You've enhanced them. Interesting choice." He turned back to Victor. "Before I can help you, there's something you need to understand about our enemy. About who they really are." "What do you mean?" Victor asked, a note of suspicion entering his voice. Frank gestured to the galactic maps on the walls. "The harvesters aren't working alone. They never were. They're part of a larger group, the Concordat, a coalition of species that fear what humans might become." "Why would they fear us?" Jack asked. Frank smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Because of what we were, what we could be again." He pressed a symbol on the table and a hidden door opened in the floor. "Come. I need to show you the truth about this war. About why Earth was really attacked 20,000 years ago." Victor hesitated, his instincts warning him that something was very wrong, but they had come too far to turn back now. The hidden door led to a long tunnel that sloped downward. Frank walked ahead with Victor close behind. Alan and Jack followed, their newly enhanced senses alert to any danger. 20,000 years is a long time," Frank said as they walked. "Things change. People change." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Unlike the rest of the base, this space was filled with strange plants that glowed with soft blue light. In the center stood a large crystal structure. "What is this place?" Victor asked, his voice tight with suspicion. Frank approached the crystal. "A communication hub. I've maintained contact with others like us across the galaxy." "Other Guardians?" Alan asked hopefully. Frank's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Not exactly." He pressed his hand against the crystal. It pulsed with energy, projecting images into the air around them. Hundreds of worlds appeared, some like Earth, others completely alien. "The Concordat oversees all of these," Frank explained. "A coalition of species that maintain order in the galaxy." Victor stepped closer to the images, his face hard. "The same coalition that wants to harvest Earth?" "That's a simplification," Frank replied. "They don't want to destroy humanity. They want to control it." Jack moved to stand beside Victor. "Why?" "Because of what we were. What we could become again." Frank gestured to another image that appeared. An ancient Earth city far more advanced than anything in the present day. Humans weren't always limited to one planet. We had an empire that spanned dozens of star systems. Alan stared at the images in disbelief. "That's impossible. Our history was erased," Frank finished, "by the Concordat. They feared our potential, our aggression. They split humanity into factions, reduced our technology, and isolated us on Earth." Victor's eyes narrowed. "And you've been working with them." The accusation hung in the air. Frank didn't deny it. I made a choice, he said finally. After you went into stasis, I woke briefly every 1,000 years to check Earth's status. I watched civilizations rise and fall. I saw the pattern. What pattern? Victor demanded. Humanity always turns to violence, Frank said. Always destroys itself. The Concordate's approach is working, limiting human expansion until we evolve, beyond our destructive nature. Victor's voice was cold. So you betrayed us. Betrayed Earth. Frank shook his head. I saved what I could. The Concordate wanted to eliminate humans entirely after the last war. I convinced them to try containment instead. A new image appeared. A massive ship approaching Earth. This isn't a harvester, Frank explained. It's an Ark, the most advanced. Humans will be selected, enhanced, and relocated to a controlled environment. The rest will remain on Earth under supervision. You mean slavery? Jack said. Frank ignored him, focusing on Victor. Join us. Help make the transition peaceful. Fewer will die. Victor stared at his old friend, centuries of trust crumbling between them. And if I refuse? Then you'll watch Earth burn, Frank said simply. The weapons you seek are here, but I control them. Without me, you have nothing. Victor moved with unexpected speed, grabbing Frank by the throat. You forget who trained whom. Old friend. Frank smiled despite Victor's grip. And you forget I've been awake for thousands of years while you slept. A hidden panel opened in the floor beneath Victor. He released Frank and jumped back just as energy beams shot upward. I had hoped for your cooperation, Frank said, his friendly mask falling away. But I prepared for your stubbornness. The room's exit sealed shut. From hidden doors, armed figures emerged, not human, but humanoid with gray skin and large eyes. Proxies. Victor spat the word like a curse. Concordate shock troops. Frank stepped back as the aliens moved forward. They'll escort you to holding cells until the process begins. Don't resist. These enhanced bodies can still die. The aliens raised their weapons. Victor glanced at Alan and Jack, who had moved to defensive positions. His enhanced companions understood without words they were outnumbered but not defeated. Victor struck first, moving faster than the aliens could track. He disarmed one and used its weapon against the others. Alan and Jack followed his lead, their enhanced bodies performing feats that would have been impossible days earlier. Frank backed away toward a control panel. You can't stop what's coming, Victor. The Concordate fleet is already in Earth's orbit. Then I'll deal with them after I deal with you, Victor replied, taking down another alien guard. The battle was brief, but violent. When it ended, the three humans stood among fallen aliens. Frank had retreated behind a force field near the crystal. The weapons, Frank, Victor demanded. Where are they? Frank laughed bitterly. Everywhere around you, but they're keyed to my genetic signature. Without me, they're useless. Alan stepped forward, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. We don't need your weapons, we need information. For the first time, Frank looked uncertain. What information? The truth, Alan said, not just pieces of it. Show us everything about the Concordate, about humanity's past. Frank hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. It won't change anything, but very well. He deactivated the force field and approached the crystal again. This time, the images that appeared were different, detailed records of Earth's true history. Ancient space fleets, massive cities, technological marvels beyond current understanding, and wars. Terrible wars that devastated entire solar systems, you see? Frank said. This is why they fear us, why they keep us contained. Victor studied the images carefully. No. This is why they fear our potential. We made mistakes, but we survived. Them, we learned. The Concordate doesn't believe that, Frank argued. Then they're wrong, Victor replied. He turned to his friend with determination in his eyes. And you're wrong too. While they talked, Jack had moved to another control panel. With his enhanced mind, he quickly understood its purpose. Victor, I found something, a communication relay. We can send a message to Earth. Frank lunged to stop him, but Victor intercepted his former friend, pinning him against the crystal. You had your chance to save humanity your way. Now we do it our way. Alan joined Jack at the panel. Together they activated the ancient system that could reach across the solar system instantly. What message do we send? Alan asked. Victor thought for a moment. The truth. All of it. Send everything the crystal contains to Earth. To every communication device. Let humanity see what was taken from them. Frank struggled against Victor's grip. You'll destroy everything. They aren't ready. They're more ready than you think, Victor replied. Humans adapt. They overcome. That's why the Concordat fears them. Jack finished the transmission. It's done. Earth will receive everything within minutes. Frank sagged in defeat. The Concordat will retaliate. They'll accelerate their plans. Then we'd better hurry, Victor said, releasing Frank but keeping him covered. There are other weapons in this base. One's not keyed to your signature. He led them to his ship, forcing Frank to come along. As they prepared to depart, Alan looked through the viewing port at Titan's orange haze. Will the truth be enough? Victor's eyes were fixed on the distant point of light that was Earth. Truth is the most powerful weapon we have. It won't just save Earth. It will awaken humanity. Their ship rose from beneath Titan's methane lake and accelerated toward Earth, racing against the Concordat fleet. The forgotten protector was returning, home, bringing with him the key to humanity's past and its future.